You're listening to Talk Line with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the program. Okay. I'm Zev Brenner, and we're very pleased that Rabbi Avi Schnall joined us again. He's the executive director of the Office of the Agudath Israel of America in New Jersey. Does amazing work. In fact, he's bringing home to parents of yeshiva kids who are able to get some relief, which we've been talking about for a long time. So good to have you back on the show. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here, Zev. Thank you for having me back. And all your viewers, I just want to apologize for my mobile office appearance. That really, I usually am in my office, but we're in between meetings. We're very busy these days. When you called to get me on, I said, I got to make it work. So I'm in between things. So I apologize for the mobile office appearance today.
No, I'm glad that you're here, but I have to tell you, you're somebody who's driven with passion for the work that you do. So it's good. So I know you speak with a passion, and you do a lot of amazing work. And before I get to what you're helping yeshiva parents, especially in the Lakewood area, but Agudath Israel of America has, in the last 36 hours or so, decided they're going to be able to help the Jews in the Ukraine. I understand there's been an overwhelming response.
Incredible. I mean, Agudath Israel has been involved and in contact with the people of Ukraine, the Jewish communities there, since day one. We set up a fund, right away for people that wanted to have a trusted source over to donate. But it wasn't an active campaign financially as we were trying to figure out what was needed, what wasn't needed. And then when we realized through conversations with those on the boots of those with boots on the ground, that there's a tremendous necessity for funding. They need money. That's what they need. So for the past week or so, the executives in the Agudath have been working together with some very generous board members, community members, to put together a matching fund of $5 million to match dollar for dollar for another $5 million, which would be a total of $10 million. So that took a few days to put that together. Once that was solidified, then we went public within about 36 hours ago. Today's Wednesday afternoon, about a day and a half, and we're already at $7 million.
Wow, amazing.
Incredible. And this is besides for the many other worthy organizations that have raised millions of dollars so far that people are giving to. This is just one part of it, one piece of this, American Jewry effort to help our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, and to see the outpouring of support so fast, so quick. And I have a page. In my page, I've raised $30,000 in about 36 hours. I didn't do a lot of work. I put up a WhatsApp status. I made a LinkedIn post, and that was it.
Wow.
And flooding in. Usually you have to work the WhatsApps, about these charity campaigns. You got another post and another post. You have to thank each guy with a special recognition for, oh, you're the man, and this guy, you're amazing. And I didn't do any of that. I put up a post on my WhatsApp status, maybe 4 or 5 posts in a row, and I just let it sit there. And then all of a sudden I come back a day later, there's $30,000 just on my page. People just want to give. It's an incredible experience to sit and watch what's going on. How Klal Yisrael was just joining together to help out people that we have no idea who they are, and people are giving real sums of money. Not rich people are just digging in their pockets.
Which is simply amazing, because as you were talking, I think about what Nathan Sharansky said when he grew up. He grew up in Russia, in Odessa, I believe, and you had to have papers, and it said either Russian or it said Ukrainian or Tsar, not Tsarist or Cossack, whatever it was. And it made no difference if you went to college, whether you were Russian or Ukrainian or whatever the nationality was. But if you had Jew on it, that was a stamp of against you. Today, that if you have the papers that say Jew, it's a stamp for you. Everybody wants to be Jewish because they see how the Jewish community has united to get people out there, and then they help non-Jews also, but they're primarily to help the Jewish community, and what a great job they're doing. So it's a change of how it is to being Jewish. You see, Achenu Kol Beit Yisrael, our Jewish brothers and sisters, are really giving it all, which is amazing, and it shows our people in a very good light.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, you and I have spoken. One of the biggest problems facing the Orthodox Jewish community in America is tuition. Tuition is out of control. A lot of parents, especially if you have 5, 10, 12 kids, it's just such a burden on the families. And there really is very little tuition tax relief. Recently, you were able, at least in Lakewood, New Jersey, to get some relief for overburdened parents. So tell us about what you did and how it's going to be helping parents of yeshiva students, at least for right now, in the Lakewood area.
So I'll tell you, Zev, it's really an incredible thing that we pulled off, and obviously there were partners involved, and I want to give a tremendous recognition to the Lakewood Township Committee members, Mayor Ray Coles, Committeeman Lichtenstein, Committeeman Miller, and the whole group. Without their support, we wouldn't have this. But I'll take a step back. Last week, I was speaking in one of the communities here in Lakewood, in the Belzla community, discussing the grant and how people could apply. And I said, I want to make something clear. This is not going to solve the tuition crisis. We're not going to all of a sudden, it's a good program. It's nice. We'll get to the details. We're not solving the tuition crisis by this. What this did accomplish, what this does accomplish, is that for the first time in the history of New Jersey, we are actually getting government funds paying tuition bills. We've broken, we shattered the glass ceiling. We broke the ice. We got the first pickle out of the jar. You know, we're on the move now, so that next time there's a federal fund or a federal allotment or a state fund, we could say, look, we've already used it once before for tuition benefit. Let's include it again in the second time. We've created a precedent. So just to give a little background, there was, as we all know, the federal government is giving out a ton of money, a lot of money, to states, counties, and municipalities. And we did a lot of research. We obviously were following whenever there's an opportunity for funding, we're there at the table to see how we can use it to benefit our community. And we realized that these funds could be used for educational expenses. So we went down, we identified which cities received money. Not every city got money. So let's say New Jersey, for example, Jackson Township got a very, very, very minimal amount of money. Lakewood got a significant amount of money. Other towns got more, other towns got less. In Bergen County, very few towns got, some did, but very few got. So we went to the towns that received the funds and we put together a proposal. I brought it over to Committeeman Mayor Lichtenstein and I said, look, here's our proposal. Here's our idea. You got the money. It could be used for education. We showed him how the program would work. We explained to him how we would set it up and you know, what our involvement would be. We would administer the entire program so it wouldn't come as a burden to the township. We would cover it. And he liked it. He brought it to the mayor. The mayor liked it. We brought it to the rest of the committee. They liked it. We actually closed registration yesterday, but we received thousands of applicants and thousands of people are going to be getting a check of $2,500 per family, which is a nice amount of money to get, especially for struggling families. Is $2,500 more than they had the day before. But like I said earlier, what's most monumental about this is that we broke the ice. And now that we started in Lakewood, I can tell you there are several cities throughout the country that are contemplating starting similar programs. And we're in touch with several cities in New Jersey that within the next few months, we may have some very exciting announcements. Obviously, every city could tweak it to their particular need or their particular, you know, what their challenges locally may be. But the concept of using federal money for educational costs and opening it up to non-public schools and for yeshiva tuition payments is a game changer. It's incredible.
No, and kudos to you for putting it together, being on top of it. I would assume New York is not one of those cities, unless I'm wrong, right?
So New York is very complicated because New York actually did get, as you can imagine, New York got a boatload of money from the federal stimulus funding. However, New York, because the city is so huge, their needs are tremendous. So many cities just took that money, a lot of the larger cities, and said, we're just going to use it for revenue loss. We lost money during COVID because businesses were closed. People lost money. We weren't getting as much income tax. So we lost a lot. We're just going to push it all to revenue loss, and that was it. A lot of the smaller towns or cities, for example, Lakewood, it's not a small town. There's 150,000 people living here, but
And growing and growing.
and grow. Yeah, fast. So it's not small, but it's not New York City. It's not LA. It's not Miami. There's a much more of a personal hands-on relationship with the local leadership. So we're working very hard on these areas and towns, and I can't disclose yet which towns are about to announce programs or which states they're about to do something, but it's on the local. With one particular area, they knew that the city they wouldn't be able to work with. The city said, we used up all the money, we have no money for such a program. Great, let's go to the county. And they're now working with the county, and they may not use it for tuition bills, but they're using it for something else, education related. Once we sort of open the door for these funds to be used for private education expenses, so now every town, every county, every city, let's see how we can use that. And some are biting, some are, obviously we need it for our own stuff, which is all part of it. But it's something which has never been done before. I think it's a little bit historic. Never in the state of New Jersey have we ever had a program of government funding helping people pay tuition. So this is it's a great start, and it gives us a little bit of hope.
No, I'm excited about it. Do parents have to keep an accounting of where they spent the money?
So this is like a voucher program, so to speak, or any money that was given, let's say, for childcare. When the federal government gave us checks or gave people checks for childcare, there wasn't a form you have to fill out with a receipt. They used it for childcare. Bottom line is, if you're eligible for this program, you need money, and you need the $2,500 to pay tuition. And if you're using it to pay tuition, that's where it's going. If you use that exact dollar for dollar, or you went to the grocery store and borrowed from this pocket, but you pay tuition from that pocket, it's giving parents relief for their expenses. And one of the expenses, education. And I met yesterday with a mayor of a certain city out of New Jersey, and I told him, I said, there's so many programs that are being done. There's mortgage relief, there's rental relief, there's moratoriums on not allowing landlords to push out tenants that are late on their rental checks. There's food banks, there's lunch programs. Every area in our community almost has been covered or is being covered by various programs. The one area that nobody looked at is education. And education costs, as if you forget about private school tuition, people that send their children to public schools, there's after schools programs, enrichment programs, there's SAT prep courses that parents need to pay for, there's college prep courses, and people before COVID were able to afford it. And there are many that can no longer afford these things because of COVID. Who's helping them out on those? And these are important things. These aren't, just luxuries. These are real necessary programs. Who's focusing on the education? And they hear it. It's a valid point. We're not. I told them, I said, when public schools get money, and a lot of public schools got a ton of money from the COVID, it's going to cover the public school budget. It never goes back to the parent. So that public school parent that wants to send her kid or needs to send her child to a college prep program where he needs tutoring, and that's how he's surviving. They now lost their job due to COVID. The fact that their local public school got $1 billion doesn't help her a cent regarding hiring tutors for her kid.
Right.
Who's taking care of that parent? So, like, a lot of times we took care of education. You took care of public school budgets, but not about educational costs for parents. And that's what this program sort of brought to light a little bit.
Brilliant. I love it. Now, is there an income level requirement in order to get these?
Yeah. Yes. We made the income level requirement as high as we possibly can, because, like, Zev, our community, we always get the middle class always gets it the worst.
Right.
But especially within our community of tuition paying parents, the middle class gets hurt even worse. Because you can have someone making $180,000 or $190,000, and he's maybe making ends meet because he's got a $70,000, $80,000 tuition bill. So in the previous stimulus packages and relief programs, there was always that cutoff of 150,000, 140,000. That means that those making the 170, 180s got nothing. So we wanted to make sure, and we worked together with the Lakewood Townships, and how could we make this viable, that even those that are making the 180 and 190 could get something. So we decided, the township felt it was appropriate to take the highest level that the federal government would allow for social services programs. That's $198,000 a year, plus $10,000 for every dependent. So you could be making a decent amount of money, which we know for our community and our expenses is not a lot of money, and still be eligible for this program.
Marvelous. I love it. I'm looking to see it expand to other places as well. So really, thanks. How long did it take for you to get this off the ground?
So we thought of the idea. I'll tell you the backstory. It's an interesting story. I was in Miami Beach, Florida. I was on vacation, and I was walking on Collins Avenue, and we had Agudath together with CAPE. CAPE is a national umbrella group that puts together all the different non-public school communities throughout the country. It stands for the Council for American Private Education. And they were holding these weekly webinars discussing federal programs and new things that were coming due to COVID. And I made sure to listen every week to those webinars. I'm a big believer. You got to be at the table, even if you're away on vacation. You take away the hour and you log in just for that, not to miss anything. So I'm walking on Collins Avenue. I got my baseball cap on, my sneakers on, my polo shirt on. I'm taking my stroll, and I have my earpods in my ear listening to this webinar. And someone mentioned this idea about federal funding, tuition, private school, and it turned on a light bulb. When I got back to Lakewood, I told my assistant, I said, we got to look into this. And we did the research. So it was, let's say, September time. It took a few months till the town got their funding, till they reviewed it again, to make sure that everything was 100% aligning with whatever the federal requirements are. So we kicked it off, I believe, in middle of December. So it took about 4 or 5 months from the first time we heard about it till we actually opened it up to the public. And then we had an application time frame of about 2 months for people to apply. We didn't want it to be first come, first serve. It's going to be done based on a lottery basis. And
when you say lottery rate, it means not everybody eligible is going to get the money, only a certain amount?
As of right now, the majority of those that applied are going to get it. But there's an enormous amount that applied, an enormous amount that'll be eligible, and the town gave us a very significant amount, but not enough to cover everybody at this point. So we're still going through the applications, seeing who's eligible and who's not. If there's going to be more eligible applicants than amount of allotments, amount of grants, then it'll be done by a lottery.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to the next chapter to see how many other townships and cities can get this tuition tax relief. Like I said, I think it's one of the most important issues facing the Orthodox Jewish community is how to deal with the tuition crisis. So thank you for your leadership, Rabbi Avi Schnall, the director of the Agudath office in New Jersey. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us.
Thanks for listening.
For continuous Jewish programs, Talkline-Network.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the Talkline-Network.com.